So Titanic is in theaters again, and of course I went and saw it again, since I'm a huge Titanic nerd ever since I first saw it in 97, was it? Or 98? And this is a fun story, by the way. We were like in kindergarten, and I was born in 92. Yeah, and I actually think the movie only reached the Bulgarian market the next year after its actual premiere, somewhere in 98. So when we watched it, I must have been like 6 years old. We were in our village back then, and this friend of mine had a birthday, so we went to his house for like a children's party, and his parents were like crap, at least in this kind of perspective. Since I remember his mom was just, wanting to go out in the yard and smoke with the rest of the adults and stuff. And they left us children inside to play. And she was like, "Hey kids, what do you want to watch on TV? You want to watch a movie or something? How about this new one that we bought from the city? This new VHS about a big ship." And she went ahead and slipped the tape in the VHS player and went out. And I just remember so fucking vividly, even after all these years, that fucking ghostly intro with the female vocals and the black and white footage of the giant ship with the crowds of people on it waving goodbye. I was fucking 6 years old and I was totally mesmerized by that scene alone. I've always had a thing for angelic vocals and dramatic visuals and stuff. I'm the same even today. I'm a complete sucker for such presentation. Even if it's a crap movie or show, you give me those dramatic female vocals and the slow motion visuals, and I'm hooked. Anyway, so first of all, this intro scene slapped my little kid's heart from the very beginning, and then the rest of it did as well. The submarines going through the remains of a dead ship and the ghostly, doll faces on the ocean floor, the shoes and the glasses, everything just imprinted itself into my brain as I was experiencing it. And not in a scary way. I knew this was about death from the very beginning. I knew it was about horror and loss and darkness, but it didn't scare me anyway. It even made me love it even more for that precise reason. I've always had this soft spot for heavy, serious drama from like my earliest years. And then the rest of the movie went on, and of course, I watched the love story and didn't give a fuck about it basically because what the hell did I know about love relationships at that point? Throughout the love story, I was kind of fuck. So as the love story was going on, I was just watching and playing in the meantime with the rest of the kids simultaneously. Because, by the way, I was actually the only one of the kids who was watching for real. None of the other ones gave a fuck. And I also think none of them give any fucks about such stuff, even today. But anyway, I digress. So I completely and totally fucked the birthday games and everything else that was happening around me when the ship hit the iceberg. I didn't even know what the fuck was happening, but just the visuals, the music, the sudden turn of the mood of the story, that just grabbed me. And then the ship started to gradually sink. People started screaming, the ship went dark. Then it broke in two and sank. People died. Jack died. The movie ended, and after this, I was never ever the same kid. This fucking movie changed me there and then. After this, I got maniacal about researching and learning things about the Titanic, about other ships, about the Atlantic Ocean, about death, about the history of other things derivative of this one. It was basically turning a lever in it was a turning point for me at a very early age, and it didn't traumatize me at all. And by the way, neither did it traumatize the other kids. They just didn't watch, or if they did, they had some kind of stupid reaction, as in, "Hey, look at how big the ship is and how the people on it look like ants or whatever." And we watched. We watched it all, by the way. The domestic violence, the sex scene, the sinking, and the deaths. All the while, the adults were just eating and smoking outside in the yard, randomly passing through the room to see if we weren't doing something stupid. None of them ever thought this movie might have been inappropriate for children. This is the kind of world that I grew up in, and in many ways, I'm grateful. Not that I'm saying that it's good, don't get me wrong. Now, as an adult, I'm so fucked up psychologically that my family should be put on trial for child abuse. But still, I've learned that growing up largely basically means learning to live while being okay with your past and not turning your past into a pile of regrets. So, yeah, to cut it short, I just wanted to say that Titanic is to me one of those psychologically founding movies that formed my psyche from a very early age, which is why, with a bit of nostalgia bias, I consider it one of the greatest movies ever. Not the greatest, it must be stressed. There's lots in it that's bullshit, which I'll mention shortly. But even so, one of the greatest. And so last time I watched it in theaters was 2012 when its first 3D release came out. I'd never seen it in theaters before that, only VHS. And then this year it came out in theaters again, and I think it's maybe still going. And I saw it like 2 weeks ago or something, with the intention of going again at least a couple more times, because that's how maniacal I am about it. But then after I saw it once now, I suddenly gave up on my desire to see it multiple times, and I'll explain why now. Now, don't get me wrong, I still love the movie, and I always love it. And of course, the 3D rendition was absolutely perfect. Jesus Christ, the sound was amazing. And it all felt so real, especially when the stern was going for the final dive, the final plunge in the water. It literally felt like you're up there on it with Jack and Rose. Absolutely terrifying. By all means, it's worth the money. But to me, only this once and not more than once. If this was for free, of course I'd go see it 20 fucking times. But it's not free, so once would be enough to satisfy me. Fucking Gmail. And this sudden lackluster overcame me because when I saw it again in its entirety, I realized I'm actually in love only with the second half of the movie, with the sinking part, because they've recreated it amazingly. The first half, though, the Jack and Rose stuff, I don't want to say I hate it because I actually don't. I just think it's fucking stupid. Though it was a necessary stupidity because James Cameron had to make the movie actually marketable as a movie and not just a documentary. So he had to throw in there some, bullshit modern looking teenage love story. I get that, I totally do. And without it, the movie would absolutely not have been as successful as it is. But even with all of that said, I think it's fucking stupid and I just don't like it. First of all, the love story seems retarded on many levels. Titanic sinks on I think it was the fourth day of its voyage, and Jack and Rose only meet on the evening of the second day. So this means that the entire love story where they're supposed to totally fall in love and fall in love in such a way that Rose fucks over her entire family for Jack. This all happens in 2 days, maybe even a day and a half. I mean, I get I get the teenagers are stupid and chaotic and don't think too much when it comes to hormones and stuff. But even with teenagers, to fall in love to such an extent takes fucking time. Or even if it doesn't take long in some cases, it would certainly take more than a day and a half. It's just ridiculous. And I realized I had forgotten how stupid that part of the movie is because whenever I rewind it, and I do it very often, I never check out those parts of it. And this time in the theater, I remembered all of it, and watched it with a, how should I say it, with an adult mind, and it hit me that the movie is actually like a brick of gold, but smeared in some shit. And there's also the part where they totally present the rich people as those shallow and evil fucks, almost every one of them. And then they present the steerage passengers, the poor people, as those innocent and life loving angels that could never do anything wrong. Now, this might sound elitist of me to say, but poor people aren't fucking angels, they're just people. I grew up in a poor family, trust me, it was mostly domestic violence, utter stupidity, alcoholism, backwardness in every single fucking walk of life. Basically, everything one hates about humanity, you can find it in poor people. And of course, since I wanted to stress that I'm not elitist, you can find the same shit in rich people as well. In some cases, despite their education and lack of reasons for, you know, their life turning to shit or whatever. Anyway, my point is there is no black and white in the real world, and the movie presents us as if it is. It's so simplistic that I'm kind of disgusted that this kind of character presentation was employed in a movie depicting a historic event as legendary as the Titanic disaster. It just feels disrespectful. And it's not like James Cameron didn't know this. He totally did. He just used this kind of trope to make his movie popular and more easily digestible for the stupid fucks who had to pay money to see it in theaters. And it kind of makes me see Cameron as a piece of shit, but then aren't we all in our own little weird ways? At least I can be grateful to him that he also made the second part of the movie with the sinking. So there you go.